Welcome, race fans, to Miami for the next round of our fantastic championship. This is Webbo here for the commentary. This is how our championships look so far, with Zenzuku on top by 20 clear points now from Scrubbins and from Al on 56. I think that's AI, in fact. Dad Racer on 51, Hybe on 49, with Fly Scott ahead of K-Splift and Footy on 10 points total. 5 podiums for Zenzuku so far, plays Scrubbins 4 podiums, and almost even odds across the board for the rest of the standings. On the grid, we have Scrubbins on another pole position ahead of Zenzuku on the front row of the grid, much as it ever was. We have Fly Scott and K-Splift in P3 and 4. Dad Racers on the third row, with Hybe and Footy qualifying on the back row of our 10-car grid ready for today. Looking forward to this one. I hope you guys are too. And we are poised and waiting for a scorching hot Miami Grand Prix. So the 5 red lights go on, and our championship leaders are at the top of the standing here, and it's dropped the clutch. It's go, go, go immediately. You can see Zenzuku jumping off the start very nicely in the bright blue.
No!
Oh. There's a spin in the background to the inside of the turn, and it has also affected, I think it's affected Hybe as well, who's ended up right at the back, but K-Splift was the one who got the major oversteer into the first corner apex. As we run through, there's a little bit of side-by-side action going on further back. It's Fly Scott looking good there, all the way up to P3.
Why can I not turn now?
With our AI companion drivers just navigating things together. Side-by-side action right at the front as we replay the start from the dirty side of the grid on the even numbered position, P2 of Zenzuku. Finding a great avenue down the inside there, but straight away Scrubbins holding firm on the outside in those Gulf colours, managing to hang on. This from the perspective across Fly Scott's front wing here, and there you can see that was K-Splift just spinning to the inside. Didn't quite see the actual issue that affected him. Here we have on board with Dad Racer, I think this is. Dad Racer coming very, very close to disaster out there. Yellow flags were flying immediately. Marshals were incredibly quick with that one. We look back across the nose then of Dad Racer, looking backwards here. Got an inside line, with just way late on the brakes, but 3 of our drivers having issues into turn 1. I wonder if we had some oil down on the surface that may have been affecting their getaways. This is the view from the back row of the grid. This is on board with Footy, who just slams into a couple drivers. You can see that was K-Splift just recovering on the inside. Absolutely action-packed turn 1, lap 1. We go back to live action then. You can see Scrubbins in the Gulf colours leading Zenzuku on the long drag down towards the turn 11. One of the major overtaking opportunities here on this opening lap. And Zenzuku, despite getting the better getaway, just couldn't stay in front through the switchback section of corners. Now we're into the Mickey Mouse chicane switchback issue corners, and powering out of the very important turn 16. A little bit of heat haze coming off the top of the cars. It is an absolutely roasting hot day here. You can see also the humidity down that main back straightaway on the north side, on the around the Hard Rock Stadium. Plenty of movement there without the DRS even being enabled. Oh dear, Dad Racer late on the brakes again, as wow, as was Footy. Really struggling. We've got K-Splift getting back onto terms there and managing to regain a position, and the remaining drivers who haven't had big problems file through then. That's Dad Racer in the black and the gold. A replay then coming. This is one of the AI drivers on the left of the screen. Again, we were very, very late on the brakes. Dad Racer clearly having some brake warm-up issues. Hopefully he'll get those sorted and be able to shift the brake balance or something, because he's certainly not getting the braking performance he was expecting. I think he's managed to flat spot a couple of tyres as well. Possible contact with the barrier as well as K-Splift, as he's just trying to turn out of a spin. Up front though, it's Scrubbins ahead of Zenzuku. this is not those two drivers. This is, we've got Hybe heading down the inside. Both drivers again a little bit long on the brakes. Got significant grip problems on these cars at the early part of the race here today. It's yeah, big issues, unfortunately. Hopefully they will get that sorted and get a better set of tyres later on. Obviously their team not preparing them particularly well. They've got the DRS though down the long long north straight to finish out lap 2 into turn 17. Another great overtake that way. That's Footy going by. That is Footy holding on at the moment, and round the outside then you don't often see a successful outside defense through that final braking zone of turn 17. Here we have Data Racer then. Data Racer a little bit stuck in the middle of a group of AI drivers. Data Racer hoping that they'll be relatively predictable. Good line through the early part of the track there. This is Zenzuku in the blue, the darker blue, following Scrubbins there with the orange stripe. Looks like they've got really good overspeed on the way down into the braking point for turn 11. Scrubbins quite happy to go all the way around the outside, sweep across the nose, and again hold firm on the ideal racing line. Didn't feel the need to defend. So clearly very well practiced down that long straightaway. Here we go, another one then. Another opportunity for the DRS to open. We shall see that right about, well, I was going to say we shall see that right about now, but it looks like Zenzuku was just 0.05 of a second outside of the DRS zone. Flyscott goes by the camera position. Data Racer staying ahead of Paris Energy. K-Splift in the green is not far away from this group. And there he is, half a second only, as that was, I believe, Data Racer getting in the overtaken down the north straight there. Hoping to rebuild and, well, certainly get off those soft tyres relatively soon, I would imagine. It's not been the most successful start of the race for him.
Dang it, guy broke so early.
Once again, a spin for Data Racer. Unfortunately, it is one of the more tricky tracks here. Looking down at an Xbox view of a driver.
Did you get any damage from that? I did not, unbelievably.
And we get some funny visual issues as a result. Beautiful overtake though, ultimately. Really neat and tidy from K-Splift. So Data Racer dropping to 7th position behind 2 of our AI drivers. We've got K-Splift just in front of him. And there, Data Racer, I think he's got damage by the look of things. The look at the handling on the car. We don't get a full damage readout of the cars, but clearly we're really struggling with the setup, or at least the handling. The balance seems to be very unpredictable for Data Racer at this stage. We can see Scrubbins still ahead, but now by 2 clear seconds, 2.1 seconds in fact, from Zenzuku. Flyscott is now 8.8 seconds away from Zenzuku's P2, but he is something like 6.5 seconds away from the nearest human driver in the championship there, K-Splift. Here we go, Data Racer to the outside. A good recovery from Data Racer to get that position back then with the Exo Tiger sponsorship. Side by side around the long looping left-hander into the fast-flowing S's to finish out the lap. And he's managed to clear that really nicely. This is a view from Hybe's car. Again, using that DRS, that looks like it's Footy on the outside. Hybe going wheel to wheel. Footy distracted by what was going on in his mirrors, and a reasonably safe rejoin at that time from Hybe, completing the pass, albeit slightly off the circuit, but he did rejoin, I think, before. The question will be, did he only make the overtake because he was off track? Certainly race control. We'll look at that with a microscope, but they do have information we don't necessarily have. Straight back, though, is Footy to the challenge. Round the outside, needs some respectful racing room being left here, and it was left. Great sportsmanship from both of them. As they continue through then this another view then this must be Data Racer passing by another driver down before we get into the final corner braking zone. He got relatively far ahead and was able to complete that neatly, but he was retaken once again then down into the left-hander here into turn 17. It has just been ding-dong between these two as Hard Rock Stadium on the right of the drivers on the way through the pit lane and the pit wall area with the paddock fully nested. Oh dear. That was a little on the rude side. Dad Racer just again brake pedal or braking system issues today. This was very late on the brakes as well from our green machine Hybe. I think struggling there as we could rejoin Dad Racer, who's recaught the chrome and yellowy orange racer here. Has he managed to get into that corner? He was a little bit away from the apex, but got the power down nicely on the exit here as we ride over the view of K-Splift. Look to the right as we go by. Another chrome racer that time, and another great classic overtake there from K-Splift. Now in 5th position as we have a look at the red and black car of Fly Scott in the F175 livery. He's in no man's land pretty much, 11 seconds from 2nd position and some 6 seconds away from K-Spliff, the nearest human driver, but we've had another off and into the barrier, and that is confirmed damage then for Dad Racer this time. He'll be hoping that there are some changes that can be made to his machine in the pit lane. Try to get hold of some new tyres, a new front wing, and an adjustment to try and help with that braking system. Here is Zenzuku heading into the pit lane. Now he's trying to undercut Scrubbins, but Scrubbins had a 5-second deficit delta to Zenzuku. There is Fly Scott taking hold of 2nd position. Multionia goes into 3rd. Zenzuku trying to rejoin in front of Multionia. That is going to be very tight at pit exit as into the pit lane comes Footy. I'm sure he's looking forward to this global goals tournament coming up as Footy at the P10. And there is parallel pit stops from Dad Racer underway as well. Don't think he will get out in front, will he? He will get out in front of Footy. The pit boxes were much further apart than I had first anticipated. Halfway around this lap at the end, around this race at the end of this lap, and coming out of the pits, then we have Footy behind Dad Racer, but certainly well within sight here. Another look down then at K-Splift, who launches one. Amazing camera angle we've got here. It's even able to delete tyres, but his slingshot sponsorship is certainly getting a good amount of airtime into that famous turn 11 overtaking position. Now we're powering out of 16 through DRS detection zone 2 and heading up to absolute VMAX. No super clipping just yet. I imagine that will be pretty soon, but the DRS is enabled for the main rival here on the outside today, at least, of K-Splift as Multionia goes through. K-Splift then leaving good room. What a fantastic exit once again. Little touch through the next corner. That was through turn 18 and 19, but they are still side by side. Very late on the brakes in comparison there from K-Splift, and grabbing hold of 2nd position, although without a pit stop. I would imagine he will get ahead of Fly Scott, as he will drop behind Fly Scott. Fly Scott should get that place back. Here we go with Footy as we run through this now somewhat iconic Miami circuit as we run on to start another lap, the 8th of the 14. Footy at the bottom of the standings at the moment in both the race and the championship, but very keen to try and maximise his result out here today. I'm sure he will find the form he's been looking for with a decent amount of a fair wind in his direction. You can see the heat haze at this Miami circuit. I don't think we're expecting any tornadoes today, but it's certainly the right region for them. Round the outside, what an overtake this is from Dad Racer on. That must be Hybe. No, it is. That's Dad Racer further back. This is on board with Hybe, who was overtaken around the outside by the Sunburst sponsored driver of Paris Energy. Always back and forth under the overpass there, the main highway, looking back across the fabulous bodywork of Hybe's green machine as he gets that slipstream once again. Not quite close enough to go for a move, but he might be in a good place with the next detection zone so that he can power on down that start-finish straight. No, in fact, he's headed towards the pit lane. So into the pits we go. Change of tyres. Try and jump ahead of Paris Energy in the pit lane. That will certainly help his plans here to try and get ahead and get clear of those racers. Hybe then with the silver tail on the green front as he heads past the iconic British Racing Green Aston Martin safety car, which I think is being phased out, unfortunately, as we head through and out of the pit lane, back out on the circuit. We should have a strategic advantage over the driver we were actually fighting with there. Here is Flyscott back into third place thanks to K-Spliff's pit stop. That gap back to K-Spliff is now 7.8 seconds. But Scrubbins and Zenzuku have managed to open up a 28 and 22 second lead over the third place driver, Flyscott. I think we might need to put them in F2 cars, don't you, Scrubbins and Zenzuku? As we go down this long north straightaway. No DRS, of course, for him. I've got some strange shadow artifacts on the race circuit there. So we're managing to portal through some shadows out of turn 17. Good to see this F175 livery. Don't see it very often out there. As we run on to start lap 10 of the 14, Zenzuku ready to absolutely race and continue that on then through. Focusing on Flyscott here, giving him plenty of screen time. At the moment, Scrubbins is ahead of Zenzuku by 6.3 seconds. Not a great deal of difference when it comes to the tyre strategy, it seems, today. K-Spliff in fourth, with Multionia, Paris Energy and Sharon McLaren ahead of 8th place Dad Racer, 9th for Footy and Hybe in 10th. So something has occurred to Hybe to put him back behind Footy, and by 9.3 seconds no less. Here we have Dad Racer, who has re-caught Sharon McLaren this time, and he will be desperate to make a clean overtake and follow on through. Let's see how the brakes are behaving now for Dad Racer. Down we go into turn 11. Seemingly ahead slightly there. A little bit of argy-bargy. Elbows are out between the two of them. Dad Racer holding on as the track naturally flows to favour the driver who took the inside line into turn 11. More lefts than rights, of course, at this clockwise circuit. I think he got away well there, and the Sharon McLaren not taking advantage of using the slipstream prior to the relatively late DRS opening. Here is it's further back than it looked, actually. That was a really good late burst, possibly a little bit of ERS deployment there. And, well, Sharon did not make it easy, did she? But unfortunately, Dad Racer made his way by in the end. Certainly might have lost a little bit of aerodynamic performance from the side pod, possibly. Back to the all-blue driver today, as we go over to Scrubbins. Excuse me, Zenzuku. Here he is, as he's going through the Mickey Mouse sector. I can tell you, Hybe started on the hard tyres, and those have not worked out for him strategically. Switching on to the mediums, he's dropped a number of seconds from Footy. So, yeah, there'll certainly be something to look at for next time, choosing the strategy. Unless everybody's tyres drop off in these final 4 laps, I think Hybe will rue that decision. Green flag from the marshal there, kind of helpful. I mean, I guess we assume it's a green flag, or maybe it was just a team supporter there for our K-Spliff. Sorry, excuse me, Hybe, who is just moving forward past Sharon McLaren, who has DNF'd. So Hybe gaining a position, and an interesting DNF there from Sharon McLaren. I'm very surprised to see that. We didn't catch it on camera just yet. Maybe we will later on. She wasn't actually close to another racer, so clearly some sort of mechanical failure or failure in the cockpit as we run down that north straightaway. Once again, it is lap 12 of the 14. We are keeping track here of the last current place driver, Hybe. And we see him through turn 17. Not quite the race-long battle between Zenzuku and Scrubbins we were perhaps hoping for. Scrubbins has been absolutely on it here in Miami. This is Footy in the all-silver entry. Good to see Footy in P8. Let's see if he can bring the car home here. Currently on the medium tyres. Unfortunately, the the focusing camera curse continues, and Footy runs a little touch wide. He did have a good amount of gap back to Hybe there in order to make the difference. This is Dad Racer. Back to live coverage from Dad Racer, this is, as we see how tight those walls are, and Dad Racer just gets the most tantalizing peek at the driver in front that he is chasing. That's Paris Energy in front, and we've had a spin. It's hard to see exactly what happened there, but clearly some contact with some off-track furniture for Dad Racer. Have we lost an end plate? I believe we have lost an end plate on board Dad Racer. What a horrible situation for him. This is still live. This is not a replay of Dad Racer's issue, but this is seeing Hybe come through. The gap to Footy has dropped, probably not by enough to give him much hope to finish above Footy here in the standings today, but down that long straightaway, lap 13 of the 14, we continue. It's the final lap of the race for our racers as we cross the line here. Of course, Dad Racer significantly further back as we wait to see our leaders coming through. Here we have Scrubbins then into the all-important final braking zone, the turn 17 hairpin. Just a couple of easy quarters to go, easy flat as we come through to win in Miami. It is Scrubbins on the top step today. Zenzuku could not do a lot to challenge Scrubbins here. Zenzuku got by into turn 1, but unfortunately that was the only daylight he saw in front of him for the rest of the race. Scrubbins first, Zenzuku second.
I think that was like one of my best drives.
Flyscott is heading down the long back straight, some 32 seconds after just 14 laps. Scrubbins and Zenzuku. Yeah, we definitely need to add some ballast to those drivers, or put them on realistic performance or something, because they are the class of the field under the shadow of the Hard Rock Stadium. And Flyscott comes across the line to come in P3, and a great completed podium then for Flyscott. We don't see Case Splift anywhere. We've gone back to Dad Racer. There must be an issue for Case Splift. I'll wait to see if we get a checkered flag by his name. I'm assuming all is A-OK. That was Dad Racer coming home in 7th place, with Footy in 8th. Finishing out here, Hybe for the green team. Unfortunately will be the last classified finisher. Footy across the line, and we've got somebody parked up. I think that was Case Splift. Here comes Hybe to complete our grid then. Scrubbins, Zenzuku and Flyscott will share the podium. Fantastic win, and a truly remarkable performance from Scrubbins ahead of Zenzuku, and Flyscott coming in home in P3.
No safety car, first time. Nice job, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was surprising, actually.
Yeah.
I almost had one.
Close.
Great to see. Fastest lap went Zenzuku's way, so he did have a victory of sorts today. Fantastic work from him. But from now here at the championship, thank you so much for watching. We will catch you on the next race day.